What is going on, everybody? This is Striker welcoming you to day number 4 here of Vlogmas of 2018. In today's video, we are going to talk about sports ball. That's right, I'm going to talk about my 4 favorite teams for the 4 major sports that I follow. I'll also talk about my favorite players. I guess that's a decent way to start. Favorite players. And then I guess I can throw in a little bit of a prediction for all of them. At least I think I can. So we're going to go ahead and first off talk about what sports I do follow. So the 4 major sports that I do follow are the NBA, the MLB, the NFL, and the NHL. So that's baseball, basketball, football, and hockey. I'm pretty sure I switched those 2 when I was talking about them the second time, but it's fine. So we're going to talk about everything in order of the most important that it is to me in terms of actually watching the sport. So I actually have a clearly defined 4th, 3rd, and then there's like a tie for 1 and 2. So the first one we're going to talk about is, bam, the Cleveland Cavaliers. So give me a second and I'm going to go ahead and gear up. As you can tell from this fantastically edited photo, hold on, this fantastically edited photo, there we go. Yeah, I don't own any Cavs gear. I don't really follow the Cavs a whole lot. I mean, I do, but not to the point of me wanting to get their clothing. All right, other things are going to change. And sorry for this doing the little fuzzy stuff because the green screen, there's nothing I can do about that one. But anyways, so I follow the Cavaliers. More so, I follow the news, and then whenever they're in the playoffs, I watch the games. I'll catch an occasional regular season game, but there's really not much of a point to watch the regular season because either your team's going to make it to the playoffs or they're not. That's pretty much predetermined by the rosters, and ever since LeBron left, you know, there's a whole lot of great going on in Cleveland right now. So I don't know when I actually started following the Cavs. I'd say probably sometime in like early high school, maybe middle school. They're my favorite team because they're the Ohio-based basketball team, and I just root for basically everything that's Cleveland because I'm from Northeast Ohio. I'm from the Akron area, so I follow everything Cleveland. So when it comes to my favorite player on the current roster, see, beforehand it would have been LeBron James just to jump on the bandwagon, but my favorite player is actually Dellavedova. He's been around for quite a while. He left, and now he got traded back, so that's fantastic to see him back, and I'm pretty sure he's from Australia, so that's pretty dope too. Prediction-based stuff for the Cavs. They're going to be in the basement for a little while. They're not going to be able to contend for the playoffs. I mean, they're looking okay, but they've got to figure out a lot of stuff. So I'm going to say they probably don't even make the playoffs next year. Maybe not the year after. I don't follow them super closely. I do follow the news and major storylines around them, but other than that, it kind of goes by the wayside, and that's just because I'm a poor fan of the NBA. I like them. I will support them. I will follow them. I watched all of their games the past couple of years when they went into the playoffs, but otherwise, it's whatever for me. But it is a sport that I do follow. So we're going to go ahead and jump into, bam, see, the jersey just went away. I just took it off that fast. We're going to go ahead and jump into the second sport that I follow, which is the Cleveland Indians. Bam. I stole all of these backgrounds, so I don't own the rights to any of these backgrounds. Okay, I understand that. They came from Google Images. You can find where they came from pretty easy. Just type in the team name and then background. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and gear up and we'll be back. All right, I'm back. As you can see, I'm repping the Threads. It's a really, really old, really, really oversized jersey. I'm pretty sure it's an extra large, and you can see the hat. You guys have seen this plenty of other times in videos. I don't know if I've ever turned it around for you, but it's just got the block C. It's a flat bill. So yeah. The Indians, the Cleveland Indians, the reason why they're my favorite team, again, is pretty much the same kind of situation as the fact that, well, they're from Cleveland and I'm from the Northeast Ohio area, so I follow the Cleveland Indians. I actually do watch a lot of their games. The season is really long. It's 162 games. I'd say I probably watched between 90 and 110. I catch them when they're on, but I'm not going to go out of my way, especially if it's like a late evening game or if it's like at 1 o'clock and I'm at work. I can't really swing that one, so I can't really watch it. But for the most part, I do watch their games, especially because the other major sports that I follow, both hockey and football, happen opposite of baseball. For the most part, hockey kind of bleeds into it, but I follow baseball pretty well. I follow their storylines. The off-season is when I start to kind of tune things out, and then I'll pick it back up as we approach spring training and everything like that, because there's a whole lot of stuff that's done, like, behind the scenes and in between all the GMs and everything. They've got their winter meetings. There's the Rule 5 draft, so I keep track of some of that, and there's actually 2 versions of the Rule 5 draft, so I do keep up with it, but not probably as, like, as fanatic-y as a lot of people would. So the other reason why the Indians are my favorite is because I used to play baseball, and I played baseball from when I was, I think, 4 years old, all the way up until I was 17. I quit playing my senior year. I wanted to focus on some other stuff, take care of some other things. So yeah, I used to play baseball. I started out playing in the infield. I was second base, and then I became a catcher, and then I became a second baseman, and then I became a catcher again. And then I played some outfield, and then second base, shortstop, third, and then back down to catching. I'm only 5'8". I'm not very tall. I never was very tall, so I was never a good first baseman because I can't stretch to catch the ball or anything like that. So I did just about every position on the field except for first base. I did play a couple of games at first base, but it was like when I was much, much younger, so I don't really count it. So outside of first base and pitcher, I pitched one game, I pitched one inning, I had 3 strikeouts, they were all horrible, I was a terrible pitcher, and that's what it was. I also only pitched once in 3rd grade. After that, I just never even tried. I can throw some sick, nasty pitches now because I understand the mechanics and how to throw the pitches and everything like that. So, Cleveland Indians, my favorite player on the Cleveland Indians has to be Trevor Bauer, because he is ridiculous. He's an outlandish person. He says all sorts of crazy stuff. He's on social media all the time. He Twitter beefs with all sorts of people. He's a really funny guy to follow and listen to, like straight up. He's also very freaking smart, by the way. There's a whole controversy. I don't know if it's controversy, more of just like a potential headline, as to whether or not they're going to trade him, Carlos Carrasco, or Corey Kluber, because they've got like 3 major starting pitchers. Because they're larger contracts, they're trying to shed some salary, bring up some younger talent, and then be able to develop other people that they have in the organization. Trevor Bauer is really smart, and he's like, if I'm the Indians GM, I wouldn't trade me this year because I'm more valuable than my contract is, because you don't start making the big bucks until you're out of a certain age range and you've had X amount of years of service in the league. I think it's 7 years, 5 years, 7 years, one of those. But anyways, he was like, it would make a lot more sense to trade Corey, because Carrasco's contract is club friendly, so trade Corey, and then you keep me for 1 year, and then next year when you can't afford me, that's when you trade me. Really smart guy. I don't know if you guys heard about it with the whole World Series thing. He was the guy that hit and cut his finger on a drone. So he was pitching, and then it broke open, and then there's blood everywhere, and then he had to stop pitching, and then eventually the Indians lost the World Series to the Cubs, and that one still kind of hurts a little bit because they've been kind of swept the past 2 years right up and out of the playoffs. So rest in pieces. When it comes to predictions, they will definitely win the AL Central, which is their division, and they will win probably for the next like 12 years because all the other AL Central teams are trash. In all realistic expectations, they should probably win it easily for the next 3 years, maybe 5. Depending on what the other clubs do, whether they go for the youth and develop or also get some veteran presence in there. So outside of that, I can't see them making the World Series. Not with the roster they have right now. Maybe they'll make it, but right now I see them getting swept out of the first round of the playoffs. 100%. That's what happened this last year. They just got kicked straight out by the Astros, and that's just it's a shame because you want to see them go far, but I also know the limitations of the club. They'll make the playoffs pretty easy, but they're not going to go much further than that. So that's that for the Indians. Hopefully that whole segment made sense there. And next we are going to be moving on to the Cleveland Browns. Ready? Check it out. I got, bam, there you go. Fancy little background with their dog mascot. So I'm going to go ahead and gear up, and then we'll talk about it. It's National Camouflage Day, so I'm camouflaging. It's actually not, or it might be, and I could have just made a completely correct accidental prediction, but nonetheless, I'm wearing their orange because, frankly, I don't like their brown. I don't like the fact that the Cleveland Browns are brown. I know it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but this is my only Cleveland Browns hoodie that I have. I do have one other shirt, but it's a super duper faded old white shirt that's hella dingy. Oh, and I have this hat. I think I've worn this in videos before. It's got a little shiny stuff on it, and it's got the dog on the front, you know, same kind of mask. Oh, okay, well, it gets too shiny, but yeah, so it's a shinier hat, shinier brim and everything like that, and it does fit real snug to the head. It's got a very low profile to it. I don't know if I like. Frankly, I like the Cleveland hat better, but the Cleveland Indians hat to go ahead and expand on that one. So Cleveland Browns, they're my favorite football team. They're the sport that I started rooting for first, I don't think I ever covered when I started rooting for the Indians or following them, really. I'd say probably like early high school again. So the Cleveland Browns I've actually been a fan of since 1999. The reason for that is I was born in 1995. If that's a shock to you for how old I am, it shouldn't be, because I've talked about my birthday and my age before several times. But nonetheless, I was born in 95. And if you guys don't know, in 1995, the Cleveland Browns became the Baltimore Ravens. And then back in 1999, they were reinstated as a team. So they were the expansion era Browns. And frankly, they really shouldn't be connected to the old Browns, because they're not. It's been quite miserable being a fan for as long as I've been a fan, but that's when I started rooting for them because my mother was a big Browns fan. And that's what I got introduced to football. I didn't fully understand the rules until I was in 3rd grade. I know that distinctly because I didn't even know what the whole down and yardage system was, the whole like 1st and 10, 2nd and 5, 3rd and 2, whatever. I didn't even understand what that was until 3rd grade because I was watching the football game at my buddy's house, and his stepdad, I'm pretty sure it was his stepdad, was there on the couch, and he was like, do you know what, I think at the time it was like 3rd and 22. He's like, do you know what 3rd and 22 means? I was like, no, I just know that they're really far from scoring. And then he explained it, and that was basically like the last bit of information that I just couldn't wrap my brains around. Obviously, if you hold a guy, it's holding. If you grab him by the face mask, it's face mask. If you grab him and yank him down by the back of their head and horse collar, it's a horse collar. So anyways, I've been following the Browns for a long time. It's been absolutely devastating to be a Browns fan. It absolutely freaking sucks being a Browns fan, but this year has been much, much different, especially after they fired Hugh Jackson and Todd Haley. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't want Hugh Jackson to come back, necessarily, but I don't know whose fault it was. I know that Hugh Jackson was trying to undermine Todd Haley, and I think Todd Haley, because he was with the Steelers for so long, and Big Ben, who's a much different quarterback than Baker Mayfield, was trying to run the same offense, so you've got a much shorter guy who needs to be able to move out of the pocket and throw on the run, versus a guy who's really tall, can stand up in there, and has a great line that will just block for him, and then can launch balls deep down the field. Completely different quarterbacks, but it really felt like Todd Haley was trying to push the same system onto Baker Mayfield. It wasn't going so hot. But there is still, at the time of the recording of this video, so this is day 4. Today is Thursday when I'm recording, so there's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Today is day 654. Is today Sunday? Thursday, Friday, today's Saturday? I don't know. As of recording this video, there is a 1% chance that the Cleveland Browns make it to the postseason. Basically what has to happen is the Colts and the Titans have to lose next week. Both of them have to lose their respective games, and then in the final week, week 17, they have to tie each other. And then the Browns win a 3-way tie and come in as the 6th seed in the AFC. The heater came back on, I'm sorry. So it's not going to happen. It's likely not going to happen. At least one of the teams is going to win next week, whether it's the Titans or the Colts. One of them's going to win. They have to win. But anyways, prediction-wise, I do think that there's a very strong chance that they finish the season 8-7-1, which will be the first winning season since 2007. Ouchies. It's been a long time. Or was it 2010? It was 2010. 2007 was another winning season, I think. But that was when they finished above 500 at home. 2010 when they had the winning record, right? Yeah, they went 10-6 and missed out on the playoffs, which sucked. But anyways, I do think they're going to go 8-7-1, or at least they have a very great chance of going 8-7-1. And then next year, I would not be surprised to see them go 12-4 or 11-5. They've got the pieces, as long as they can get somebody, either keep Freddie Kitchens on offensive coordinator and move him towards, the future. That would be great. If they don't keep him as offensive coordinator, somebody who's going to be able to utilize Mayfield's talents instead of just trying to stick to an older system would be awesome. Don't know what they're going to do with the head coaching situation. I would like to see Greg Williams as the coach, but I would be okay with Bruce Arians. There's a couple of other guys I wouldn't mind seeing, but I also want to make sure that Greg Williams is okay with staying as defensive coordinator. I think he's done a great job with the defense and turning around the defense, and I've been absolutely thrilled with the performance of John Dorsey and his drafting ability and his ability to shape the roster through trades and everything like that. So there's my prediction. They're going to go at least 10-6 next year, but I bet you they go 12-4 because they've got a much friendlier looking schedule than they do this year, because they have the second freaking strongest schedule. A team that has been in the basement of the league faced the second strongest schedule of games. That's dumb, in my opinion. But next year, I think they're going to go 12-4, but probably 11-5. I would like to see them go 12-4, but they're going to make the playoffs for sure. And as long as the Steelers continue doing what they're doing, I'm going to predict that they go ahead and they win the division next year. So no matter what, they won't have to worry about tiebreakers and stuff. They just have to beat the other 3 teams in their division to make it in. So that's my prediction. My favorite player, I don't know if I really have a favorite player. There's a ton of dudes on that team that are fantastic. I guess if I really had to pick one, I would go with Joe Schobert. He's a middle linebacker. He plays defense. He's pretty young, but he's very, very smart. The way that he breaks things down, he plays basically like the quarterback of the defense. He's the guy that has the communications helmet, because if you guys don't know, there's a communications helmet. Typically the quarterback has it on offense, and then you've got somebody who has it on defense, usually ends up being a linebacker. But Joe Schobert is an incredibly intelligent guy, breaks down a lot of things, and this year was the first time he's ever actually like missed any time, at least I think so, ever playing football. And it was because he strained his hamstring, or he pulled it, or whatever. It wasn't anything significantly serious, but he had to miss a couple of games. And in the way that Coach Williams was talking about the way that he was a tactician and learning from a different angle, he actually became like a coach on the field at the same time. So that's pretty awesome. I guess if I had to pick another person as well, you know what, we'll do this. We'll do offense, defense, and special teams. So special teams, Britton Colquitt. Britton Colquitt is a fantastic punter. Probably one of the best we've seen in Cleveland in quite some time, if not ever. You know, it's since 1999, because I don't associate the older statistics with the Browns, because this team is definitely not that historically fantastic team. But Britton Colquitt, really funny guy. There's a commercial that he did for some energy saving service. Look that up. He had to learn how to do the floss dance, and it's hysterical. And then if I had to pick somebody on offense, I'd probably go with someone more quiet, like a Joel Bitonio. Because Joel's a real nice guy. He's got his back, his teammates' back. He's always there in the fray of everything, and he's been around for a while, so he knows what losing is like. His rookie year was when the Browns started off. They were 6-2, I think, and then they ended up losing out like the rest of the season and missing the playoffs again. But he's a really good guy. He's definitely a vocal leader. I'm pretty sure they voted him as one of the captains this year as well. So there you go. There's my 3 phases for favorite players and everything like that. So when it comes to the last sport, for the thing that I follow most passionately, also when it comes to watching games, I watch every single game of the Browns every year. I think I've maybe missed one game throughout my entire life watching the Browns. To be completely honest with you, there's always time in it, because my mother's a gigantic fan, so anytime I was home with her, we would watch it. And then ever since I moved out, I've been able to catch the games on my own, and I watch them every Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, Monday, whatever day they come on, I'm there. I'm watching them. So the last sport is tied with the Cleveland Browns here. Obviously, this is hockey. If you guys haven't figured out the whole, I had 4 teams, and there's only one left. So we're moving on to hockey, which would be the Tampa Bay Lightning. Let me, boop, there you go, Tampa Bay Lightning. But I have a different background because this works better with the face cam. So like I said before, I stole all of these backgrounds, so they're not my original work. But yeah, so the Tampa Bay Lightning, I'm gonna go ahead and gear up, and then we will be back to discuss them. The jersey's back, that's right. I've worn this jersey a couple of times in a couple of videos, right? Bam. It's actually their practice jersey. This is the first and only bit of Lightning gear that I own. This hat is actually a Cleveland Indians hat, but the blue and white colors are the colors of the Lightning, so it works, it fits. So I'm gonna wear it, and it'll make a whole lot of sense. So Tampa Bay Lightning. This jersey I got for 50% off. I think it was a Black Friday deal, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, whatever. It was semi-recent. So yeah, I've never owned any Lightning gear. We'll see what happens with the holidays approaching, because that's one of the things on my wish list, even though really all I want is cash because I'm poor. But moving onwards, the Tampa Bay Lightning have been my favorite team since an early NHL game back on the PlayStation 1. I don't know what year, what edition it was, but it had to have been NHL 2004 or earlier. And the reason why they became my favorite team is because I thought their jerseys were really, really cool. That's 100% the reason why the Tampa Bay Lightning are my favorite team, and not something like the Columbus Blue Jackets, who are actually here in Ohio, or, well, any other team in the league. So, yeah. Speaking of other teams in the league, Vegas Knights for an expansion team, and now we've got Seattle coming for 2021, 2022? I think so. Or it's 2022, 2023. Either way, Seattle's getting an NHL team and they're going to have a 32-team league instead of 30, then 31 with Vegas. So yeah, anyways, moving onwards. The Tampa Bay Lightning have been my favorite team since a long time ago. Legendary players such as Vinny LeCavalier and Martin St. Louis. Brad Richards was up there. He's pretty good. A whole bunch of dudes that I can remember growing up watching and everything like that. Now, for the majority of my lifetime being a fan of hockey, I didn't watch the games. I just kind of followed with the team and what they were doing, kept up with the players who retired, who they traded for, all that kind of stuff. But I started watching every single game. That's right, every single game, 82 games a year, last year. The year before, I was catching, like, I don't know, 10 or 15, something like that, 10 or 15 games per year. So it wasn't a whole lot before that. But last year, I really kicked it up on watching the hockey. This year, I've watched every single game. Last year, I watched every single game. Heartbreaker for them to lose to the Capitals last year in the playoffs, to then have the Capitals go and win. But at least the Tampa Bay Lightning, since they're a more recent franchise, I don't remember what year they started. It was sometime in the 90s. They did end up winning the Stanley Cup once, but it's been a hot number of years since they won. So, prediction. I'll do prediction first, and then I'll go favorite player. So, prediction for the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're going to easily coast into the playoffs. I don't know if they're going to end up being the first seed overall, because right now they're kicking the shit out of the league, but don't know if they're going to be able to maintain that. So I guess we'll see where that goes. They're definitely going to make it into the playoffs, and frankly, I think they're going to win the Cup. If they don't win the Cup, it will be a very disappointing year, because this Lightning team is absolutely stacked with talent. Absolutely freaking stacked, to the point that people are like, is this technically a super team? Freaking stacked with talent. That's literally all I can say. So when it comes to future predictions as well, there's a major free agent that's coming up here, restricted free agent Braden Point, who's a center who kind of plays all over the forward lines. If the Lightning re-sign him and are able to either make a bridge deal or get him signed long-term, this is a big if, because they're kind of in a salary crunch right now, if they can retain Braden Point, the Lightning team, I believe, will be at least Stanley Cup favorites, if not in the Stanley Cup and Stanley Cup winners, for the next 5 to 8 years, depending on his deal. He is out of this world for the amount of talent that young man has. This is only his 3rd year in the league. He's nuts. If you guys don't know who I'm talking about, that's probably pretty normal, because not a lot of people are giving him the recognition that he deserves. So if they can sign Braden Point, they're going to be Stanley Cup favorites, if not Stanley Cup winners, for the next 5 to 8 years, 100%. Absolutely no sway in that, because Steven Stamkos, Victor Hedman, all the other, I guess, like, superstars, Nikita Kucherov, they're all still going to be around on their contracts. So 100%, if they can keep Point, 5 to 8 years. If they, however, lose Braden Point, if he holds out for a restricted deal, ends up signing somewhere else or being traded away, I think that the Lightning will have to take 2 years, maybe 1 year, to kind of get that depth back up, because they've got a lot of younger guys coming up. They've got a couple of aging veterans coming out of their contracts. So this next season, they're likely going to have a bunch more rookies. I think this year they're skating 3 or 4 of them anyways. I have to do the math. I don't want to do the math. So if they lose Braden Point, or if Braden Point holds out, I think next year they'll make the playoffs, but they won't make it into the finals. But the year after that, they'll be back to Stanley Cup form for probably 3 years after that. So we'll call it a 4-year window. You take off one of the years to make sure they've got all the pieces moving, and then I call them Stanley Cup favorites for the other 3 years. My favorite player, I talked about him a little bit, is Braden Point. The other players, obviously, you've got Steven Stamkos, the captain, you've got Victor Hedman, you've got Nikita Kucherov, you've got Ryan McDonough, you've got Andrei Vasilevsky. I mean, all of these guys are well-established pros. You've got some second-line guys, Andre Palat, Tyler Johnson, Dan Girardi. This roster is stacked. Sergachev is a budding superstar at defense as well, but Braden Point is my favorite skater. And I'll tell you a couple reasons why. Number one, he wears number 21, which is my favorite number. It's the day I was born on, January 21st, for starters. And secondly, he's just such a quiet, calm guy who just goes in, does his job, and then goes home. Also, he has probably the most well-rounded game I've ever seen of any forward in the league. a lot of forwards will become offensively gifted or they'll be defensively gifted, right? So Steven Stamkos is not very defensive. Nikita Kucherov is not very defensive, but Braden Point plays all phases of the game and is absolutely a 200-foot player. That's the length of a rank if you didn't know. So he's my favorite player. I love the way that his game is. He was an all-star last year, and I think he's going to go on to be one of the better players in this league for many years to come, as long as he continues with his current trajectory. Also, I'm going to go ahead and say my second favorite, or close favorite, is Anthony Cirelli. He's a rookie this year. He skated in, I think it was 18 games last year, plus some games in the playoff. He's going to be dangerous. He's playing on the penalty kill. He's really, really good in the defensive zone. The numbers, when you break it down, holy crap, is this team good when he's on the ice. He's scoring not necessarily at the rate that you would expect, but he's still on pace for like 35 to 40 points, which for a third-line rookie is really, really good. So I think Anthony Cirelli is going to be great. He's kind of the same kind of style. Very, very quiet in nature, just goes about his business, does his job, and goes home. So I really appreciate him and his youthful talent that he has brought to the Lightning. So anyways, those are the 4 sports that I follow. Those are the 4 favorite teams that I have. And I guess that's really it. Bam, look, Snow's back. So if you guys have any questions about my favorite teams or anything like that, let me know in the comment section down below. I feel like I did a decent job of kind of explaining everything and where my favoritism came from. Basically, they're either Cleveland teams or I like their jerseys. So yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying Vlogmas as we're drawing closer and closer to Christmas. Hopefully you guys are getting super excited about that. If you don't celebrate Christmas, then hopefully you had a great other holidays if they've already happened, or you're going to have great holidays in the future. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, everybody, and I will see you all next time.